voice.
What's up, everybody? We got Cortland joining us today. No, it's all good. You can't hear us?
No, I can. Yeah.
Oh, you can. All right, cool. So,
It's funny that we were like, well, should we just go ahead and start? And then we're like, and I was like, just go ahead and start it. And then you popped up as soon as we fucking started.
so just to everyone on the stream, I'm gonna apologize. It's gonna be janky for a second or two here while I change the screen. I had no idea how 3 people would show up on Zoom through our stream
I just
platform.
told you how it was going to show up.
But it didn't do that.
On the bottom.
It didn't do that. It showed 3 across. So
Well,
now I
it
just
doesn't
gotta
do
change
that
it
on
all up.
Mine is two on top, 1 on the bottom. Hello, everybody.
Yeah.
This is Cinema Royale. Hi, I'm Travis. That is John. If you're watching on the stream, one below us is
He's actually on
Courtland.
this side.
Courtland Jacoby. She writes for punchdrunkcritics.com as well. Well, on this week's show, what are we talking about? We're talking about, you guys are going to be talking about Umbrella Academy because I still haven't watched the first season at all. Or at least I tried to watch it and I got bored within like 2 episodes. So I haven't finished it.
Wow.
I know.
We
I
gotta talk
got
about
bored really quick, and that was. I tried to lean into like just looking at Ellen Page, and it didn't work. So.
It worked for me. It was fine.
It took 2 or 3 episodes to really get me in, but by the second episode, I knew I was going to watch it. I just didn't know how much I was going to like it. But then, once it hits, it's golden. So we had that in Summerland. The Gemma, is it Gemma or Gemma? And is it Arterton? Or
It's
You said
Gemma,
Gemma?
isn't it? Gemma Arterton.
I say Gemma, but
Yeah. So either one.
She's on
Her.
my list of people that I'd love to interview someday, even though she hasn't done a lot that I've liked. And if I'm honest, ever since Casino Royale, which one was she in? Was she in Casino Royale?
No, she was in the next one after one. Quantum Solace.
Solace, where she played Strawberry Fields.
Right.
Okay. And she hasn't done a hell of a whole lot that I've liked ever since then, but I still want to interview her anyway.
You know, one of the weirdest favorite movies I have, and it's not a weird movie, but it's just weird that it's one of my favorite movies. I've watched it like 20. No, I've watched it like 20 times. I have no idea why. It's not anything like anything else I watch a lot. Tamara Drew. It's something about that movie. It's like a comfort movie. Tamara Drew.
Time out.
Tamara Drew. Yeah.
Time out.
Yeah.
Time out. So you I like how you tried to slip that in there, that you don't know why you like Tamara Drew. There's only one reason in the world why anybody likes Tamara Drew, and it is Gemma Arterton in those little blue jean shorts.
Yes, that is iconic, I will say, but it's actually really well written. It's fun to watch. It's a comfort movie for me. I'm not watching the whole movie.
What's the story
for 10
about?
seconds. It's about
What is the movie about?
I'm gonna tell you. So she's a girl who's ugly and moved away, and it's kind of problematic now that I think about it. And then she moves back and she got a nose job. Luke Evans, the guy that played Tony Stark in Captain America, whose name I can't. Downey Cooper. Yeah, those 3.
I'll give you that. Their names are on the poster. I'll give you that. All right. So we're not here to talk about Gemma Arterton. Do a retrospective on her though, but we are going to talk about her film Summer.
That's next week,
which also has Gugu Mbatha-Raw in it. So I think it's another favorite of yours, John.
It is absolutely. She's new to the list.
You like the black ladies, I remember. And so we're going to talk about that. I don't remember what other movies that we're going to talk about other than that. But the other stuff we're going to do our usual bullshitting around. But we also want to talk about the Bryan Singer stuff that came out. Although people are acting like it's new. Like we've written about this stuff on our site over the last 12 years. Like almost nothing that's in that article is brand new.
Well, it's like when Kevin Spacey.
Stuff that's been out there forever, but they put it all into one package because of the 20th anniversary of the greatest superhero franchise ever, which is the X-Men.
I would love to know what it is that sets these things off to the public consciousness, because you have things like Harvey Weinstein, Kevin Spacey. You can go back 20 years in media and see people in movies and film, like Family Guy's done it on like 3 occasions, saying what these people have done that we all find so despicable out loud. So it's public knowledge, but it's like nobody takes it serious until like it's trendy to do so. I don't know, until it's forced in front of their face, I guess. It's weird because all this stuff is like, we know it happens. We know it happens all the time, but now, we're finally getting our pitchfork.
Question to ask when we get to that part of the show.
I know, it would be. But I asked it now, so anyway.
I mean, we don't really have any structure anyway.
Yeah,
but
I'm sitting here like,
but it's just, I guess, during that whole time period, right? Singer was looked at as sort of a golden child because of The Usual Suspects and After Pupil
right.
and all the shit that he'd done. But back then, Hollywood was, the circulation of rumors was just part of the deal. It's not like that anymore.
Yeah.
And that's why he's become such the focus. He's still doing the same stuff that he's been doing for the last 20 years. But now our perspective on this stuff has changed, which is why he gets fired from Bohemian Rhapsody, all that kind of stuff. Courtney, are you about to say something?
I mean, I was gonna say maybe like the male perspective, the people in power's perspective has probably changed. Like, I mean, I think that it's always been awful.
Yeah, nobody's saying
woman in the entertainment industry.
No, nobody's saying it hasn't always been awful. It has always been awful. But I think during that time, there's a lot of people who were willing to just say, yeah, but his movies make money.
Right. Yeah.
And that was it. That was always enough to cover you.
Yeah.
The main difference now is obviously social media. They can't kill a story anymore because if it gets out and it gets enough traction, doesn't matter who your fixer is. You're not stopping Twitter and all that, and it'll keep it alive until they do something. So now they're not able to say, well, he makes money. They have to say, well, he's done now.
Right.
And I also think that, the ideology of the consumer has definitely changed. I know, I'm technically in between Generation X and a millennial and or Z. Sorry, I'm not X. Z. So, I'm in the middle there, and I know that we're very socially active, and we definitely vote with our dollar. So I think definitely the consumer has changed, and the consumer is saying, this is bullshit, we're not going to support this, and if you don't,
they now care what's behind it, not just what it is. So you're absolutely right about that for sure.
Yeah. So we'll get into. I mean, we're already pretty much talking about it.
We'll get into the other news.
But basically, it amounts to a lot of stuff that we've heard before. Bryan Singer and his dalliances on set, bringing his friends around, having questionable partners around, hanging around set, disappearing for days at a time, or coming on set on drugs, and having friends on site who were on drugs, and one of the rumors that one of the things I was put in there that was sort of confirmed that, I mean, we've all sort of known about it, but never in the proper context, was Halle Berry. We always knew that "you can kiss my black ass" line that she had said to him, but nobody ever knew the proper context of it. This what the article from the Hollywood Reporter does is basically put it into context, and basically it was during X2, which is I still think arguably the greatest superhero movie ever made. He had come on set and was on drugs and was pushing the limits of things, and there was an accident on set, and the cast had to all get together and confront him about it. And the producer had to shut the shoot down, and that's when she told him to kiss her black ass, basically. Stuff like that. That we've always known about Singer.
The disturbing part is that this doesn't even touch on the sexual allegations that he's had, the things that have come about underage boys and all that. It's not even talking about that. He's got his own scandal there.
It scratches the surface of that stuff and kind of mentions it. It mentions a lot of the people around him who have since been charged with stuff like that, without directly implicating him in anything. But it talks about all the people around him. So you're and all the people he brought around him and brought on set, and all the people who had allegations. It's all of them. It seems like it's all of them.
Yeah.
So without even saying, well, he did it too, they're basically saying, well, you did it too.
Right.
They don't really have to. It does talk about some of the charges that some of the things he's settled and things like that. But it mostly focuses about the problems on the set of X-Men more than anything else. And honestly, when you look back on it, it's amazing that those movies managed to be as successful as they were, considering some of the production problems they had. And I think they probably benefit from the fact that they came out. The first one's in 2000, obviously. They benefit from that, because if they had done that now, they would have had so much bad buzz that they probably would have died before it ever came out. Because that's what happens now. The movie gets bad buzz during production and it's almost dead on vine.
Yeah, that's true.
Rare when a movie breaks out of that cycle, like Mad Max Fury Road had terrible buzz during its production because of all the years of delays. But it broke through that. But for the most part, that does not happen. The cycle of news sites that just report over and over and over again about your issues will kill a movie long before it ever comes out. And that would have happened to X-Men if that stuff had happened now. He's lucky that it didn't happen for Bohemian Rhapsody, honestly.
Yeah.
He got a $40 million golden parachute out of that motherfucker. So, he didn't even finish the movie. He got fired. He didn't even finish the movie, and he still got $40 million out of it.
You gotta love being in the 1% where being fired means a $40 million payday. Ridiculous. But yeah. So Umbrella Academy. So we started to touch on this a little bit, but so you didn't get into the first season at all, Travis. Cortland, what do you think of the first season?
I really, really loved the first season and was really excited to see what they would do for the second season. I really love how they use like this sci-fi comic superhero genre to tell a story about childhood trauma and to tell a story about family. And I loved that.
Right.
I adored season 1. Yeah.
Yeah, and so there were so many things about season 1 that one of the things that got me the most was Klaus. Let's say Kelso. That's not right. Klaus. He's this guy that you just want to hate.
Kelso's a very different thing.
But not really, because he's also a guy that you think you should hate, but you just can't help but to love him. And again, he's like the focal point of the whole season for me. I mean, 5 is actually the actual focal point, the little kid one. But it's amazing to me how they can pull off such a crazy different cast. Everyone is not just diverse in ethnicity, but they're diverse in personality and background and everything else, and they still gel together with this chemistry that just makes the show. You don't have that. That show doesn't work, but it was so much fun.
Raver Lampman, who's from Hamilton, and then you have like Tom Hopper, who's from Game of Thrones, and newbies thrown in there, and then you have like Aidan Gallagher, who played 5, who like his previous credit was on a Nickelodeon show. So this like immense group of talent just coming together, not only diverse backgrounds, but
how much fun did that kid have shooting this show? I mean, so 5, like I said, he's the actual plot focal point of the season. And
what's the season about?
So at the end of the last season, Vanya, who they didn't think, spoiler alert, I guess, Vanya, who was told her whole life she didn't have any
I know
powers.
kind of what the season's about, but don't spoil anything.
Okay, well, after the events of last season, they're transported in time back to different parts of the 1960s. And all this wraps up pretty quick that they get together again, and then they're back together and they got to stop a new apocalypse that's happening because they were transported back. At least I think. I get really confused with time travel stuff, so if I'm wrong on any of that, just call me out. But and then you have 3 Swedish guys who are super creepy, so that's cool. They're there. And
don't say anything. They just kind of lurk in the background.
Yeah, and have cats with them. And can I just say that I didn't realize until I watched this show, but a milkman costume is one of the creepiest uniforms in the history of work uniforms. I'm pretty sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That and like the classic ice cream man, which I guess is like the same.
Right. Yeah.
Level. Yeah.
It's dairy. It all goes together. Yeah. And my new favorite of this year, I'm trying to look up her actual name. The one that plays Lila, Rita Aria. I'm sorry.
Rita Aria.
Yeah. So she
must be hot. She's hot, isn't she?
No, her personality makes her very pretty, but she is just this little firecracker ball of energy that comes in here, and she plays a pretty pivotal part.
What's her name? What's her name? Spell it for me.
Ritu, and then Arya, like Arya Stark.
Rita.
Ritu.
Ritu. I mean, she's pretty, yeah, but that's not. See, Corlin, every single show, anytime I say anything good about a female actor, Travis accuses me of misogyny, so that's what that is.
I'm very rarely wrong, though. I mean,
I didn't say you were wrong. I just said you accused me of it. I didn't say it was not deserved. But yeah, she's an addition to, and she kind of plays both sides if you don't know where she's at. But she's my favorite new part of this season, I'd say. But it's definitely sticks on par with last season for sure.
Okay, so what's a reason why someone would want to watch the Umbrella Academy? Because, like I said, I tried to watch it the first season. I couldn't get through it. It was way too slow. And normally, look, I can deal with that, but it hasn't gripped me. It just hasn't done it yet. And you know, it's a comic that, you know, done by Gerard Way. That is,
and Gabriel Roth is the illustrator.
Right, and very clearly inspired by the X-Men. I mean, their origin is very X-Men like, and yet it still didn't grab me. So what is it about these first two seasons for someone who's coming in that warrants them sticking it out for those first few episodes to drop? Like I said, are pretty slow.
Portland, I'll let you go first.
So I would say that, I mean, I can't speak for everybody. For me, I feel like it's a more adult, darker, grittier version than like the X-Men that we've seen on screen. I know that X-Men in the comics has kind of gone everywhere. But on screen, I feel like this is a little bit more of like an adult grown-up version, but still like very, very fun and twisted. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's if you're looking for something different that's not like all the other comic book shows and movies, or you're looking for something more like the family dynamic the X-Men have, but a dysfunctional family dynamic. It's got a great mix of action and comedy, so that pulls you in. Those things all put together. I mean, the chemistry of the cast, like I mentioned, will keep you there. That's what brings that family dynamic really into play. And then there's just enough weird stuff to make it out there and to pull anybody in that's looking for something different, like Pogo. You know, I don't think I said "aw" so many times in my house since I moved in than seeing Baby Pogo when he was coming around when they introduced him this season. So, and he's the chimpanzee that's their nanny, I guess, in season one. They're
more like butler, I would say.
Oh, yeah, butler. We'll go with butler.
Yeah,
for sure.
Because Grace is more of the nanny mother figure.
And that turnaround too. There's something about Grace we find out this season. That was pretty wild. But yeah, that's what it was for me. I mean, I pretty much devour anything that's in the comic book world. But if you're somebody that doesn't like, maybe if you watch Stargirl and you think, wow, I have a toothache because this is too sweet and cheesy, this is the polar opposite of that.
Mm-hmm. To the point where I felt like this season didn't touch upon some of the emotional beats that the first season did. I felt like this was very like plot heavy and very much to get to season 3 almost. Like I feel like the more family dynamic stuff is going to be explored more in season 3.
Yeah, Diego was the only one that really, and he didn't even really dig deep. Diego's character is the only one that really had a few moments and some impressive performance by, I'm so bad with names. I don't know his name either. His name is Diego in the show, so we'll go with that.
David Castaneda.
Castaneda, there you go. Yeah, I mean, there's a scene where they're sitting down as a family with their father. Time travel stuff makes it confusing, but yeah, with their father. So and he's got a great performance there. Then that's like the heaviest bit of family dynamic you see. The stuff with 5 was kind of heartwarming in a weird way, in an Umbrella Academy way, when he's having to talk with his dad. But that's pretty much it now that I think about it. So yeah, you're right. It's absolutely a plot heavy and taking us to the next place.
And certain things that were in season 1, like Allison, who plays number 2, who's the rumor, her whole desire last season was to get back with her kid. And then I think they mentioned her kid like once this season, and it's at the very, very end of the whole show. So I just felt like the pacing this season didn't really work, and they got really caught up in the fun and the plot, which was great, but none of those beats really landed. Yeah.
No, I can agree with that for sure. And I just want you to say that because that's exactly what my wife and I were watching it. And I think we got like 6 or 7 episodes in. I was like, did she not have a daughter last year? And that's like what she was totally worried about. And then I swear to God, like 3 minutes later, they were like, so I'll be able to see Claire. Again, I think her daughter's name was Claire or whoever. I was like, oh, well, I guess they are going to mention it at some point. But, you know, they kind of go back to the 60s and just lead this other life. I mean, and I guess if that really happened to you, you wouldn't have any idea that you were going back. You might as well just accept it. But it still sat a little weird with me.
I have two siblings, and so, you know, the having a problem and then kind of brushing over it and not addressing it with other siblings, I think is very true to life, and they do that in the show.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
As a viewer, it's really hard to not get that emotional catharsis. And I felt that like they really did Arya's, or not Arya, Vanya's character a huge disservice by not talking about what happened last season with her, and I forget that guy's name. Is it Leo?
Yeah, Leopold. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. Leopold, right?
They mentioned, I think, you know, they have a lot of flashback from last season, just clips mixed in, and you see him for a couple seconds, but they don't really talk about anything. And part of the reason why they do that is because she's lost her memory at the beginning of this season, which I just think is like a cop-out.
Yeah, I mean, I was okay with it because it let them get right back to what they were doing, and that, to me, was fun, so I wasn't as upset about that, but I did notice that, and I was like, you know, obviously, they would have had to spend 3 episodes dealing with bringing everybody back together and forgiveness and accepting and all this other stuff, so they just said she's got amnesia, and everybody else in the family was like, all right, probably best. She won't blow anything up this time.
And that's why I think they will address it next season, because they are actually back in the house. There's, you know, yes, it's a different dynamic back in the house now. The house is still standing, obviously. But that's why I think they'll address it next season, definitely. And maybe he'll come back in some capacity. I'm not sure, but
for sure. So maybe we can finish Travis a little bit, maybe, if he can tear away from Knights of the Old Republic. Maybe we can get you to watch an episode or two.
I'm not playing right now.
You were lying this whole time watching it.
I mean, I was playing for a minute. I played for like a minute.
Right.
Right.
So that's Umbrella Academy. And then there's Summerland.
Do we have any other movies besides Summerland this week? I know I only had one review this week, which was beautiful, and it was Summerland. So
that's all I know that was coming out was Summerland. I mean, we can talk. I didn't see the Beyonce movie. I don't know. Is that considered a release?
I'm not gonna watch that.
Yeah, I didn't either.
Seriously, I'm not gonna watch that.
I didn't. I should have. I didn't have time.
I don't care about Beyonce that much, so I'm probably not gonna watch.
You're not in the Beehive, are you?
I'm not. Really not.
Yeah, so I mean, Summerland's it, and we don't even. I mean, we got plenty of news to talk about. I'll just start by saying that.
I mean, you and I can bullshit for an hour no matter what, anyway. But it's just, you know. But I didn't know if there was anything else. I know other people posted reviews on his site at butchtrumcritics.com. So it's not as if we only had one review this week. We had a few.
Well,
but
let me see.
a lot of like really big films this week. So Summerland was probably the biggest one, or one of the biggest ones.
Yeah.
And it's been interesting to see sort of the reactions to it for people. Again, more people saw it than I thought, well, at least critic-wise. And I think it's because on the surface, it seems like it's going to be a very progressive movie, and I guess in some ways it is. I mean, I kind of knew what the movie was going to be within 5 minutes,
right?
Which is sometimes good, sometimes bad. I didn't really care for it this time. So basically, Gemma Arterton plays a writer of myth and fable. But when we first meet her, she's much older, played by Penelope Wolf. I love Penelope Wolf. Anytime we get to see her in anything, and first thing she does,
Downton Abbey, right? Right, Trevor?
Yep. First thing she does is like scream at the neighbor kids. Yeah. So when she's writing, so I was like, okay. And then when they go back to the younger version of her, played by Gemma Arterton, the first thing she does is yell at the neighbor kids. So I was like, oh, so this is gonna be one of those movies
that's how we establish
that explains why she is the way she is, why she's kind of bitter, but also a movie where her heart gets softened by these kids. So I'm like, okay, so that's
it is exactly
and it is that movie. It's that movie within the first 5 minutes. It's like, okay, so that's what this is gonna be. But it has all these elements to it that makes you think it's going to be a lot more serious of a film than it is. So you got this situation. You got the woman who's kind of hard-hearted. You have it's set during World War II. So you got that. You have a boy who has been evacuated basically from his parents who were swept up in the war. And you have this lesbian relationship between Arterton's character and Gugu Mbatha-Raw's character from back when they were younger. So you got all these elements to it. You've got death, you've got tragedy, you've got illicit romance. You got all these things. You're like, man, this could be really interesting right here.
Right.
And it's like a storybook movie. It's really sweet and saccharine, and I was just kind of like, yeah, this could have been more than it turned out to be.
Yeah, I mean, even
it's a really soft film, and some people love it for that. Honestly, I've seen an entire range of reactions to it. Like there are people like me who are like, man, I wish this could have been a movie that took itself a little bit more seriously,
right,
and a little bit more with it than it does. But basically, the entire movie is her and this young boy, learning to bond, kind of bonding together, while we see flashbacks of her when she was happier, and it's not a lot of meat on its bones, and I really thought it was going to be, based on all the elements it had going for it. But like I said, Lace, I've seen a range of emotions, I've seen a range of reactions. People love it for exactly the reason that I don't. They love it for the fact that it's,
sweet and simple. I mean,
chime sound was that we just heard, but
that was me. Sorry.
It was you.
That was me. Sorry.
Oh.
Turned it off.
Sorry. It's cool. It just confused me for a second because Zoom sometimes makes weird noises. But yeah, so it didn't do a whole lot for me in that regard. Now, at the same time, it's a really gorgeously shot movie. I mean, it's a beautiful film. It's shot on the coasts. I can't remember that, in Kent, I believe, in the UK. It's a really beautiful spot. It looks great. It looks like something out of a Hallmark card, and I think it's a movie called Summerland. So you expect it to be very picturesque, very sun-kissed in its detail, and it is. It's a really beautiful film. And there's nothing wrong with the performances either. I really like Gemma Arterton in this role. And I like the boy too. I can't remember his name. Mabatha Raw doesn't get a whole lot to do. Honestly. It's not as much about the women's relationship as it probably could have been.
And that's probably the main difference between the complicated movie and this.
I know
the
you wanted
simple
more Mabatha Raw.
Well, of course I did. She's also a fine actress. It's not the only reason why.
She's a terrific actress.
Yeah, but I mean, I can definitely see in the beginning, and you see the trailers, you read the synopsis, and you think it's going to be one of these movies that almost feels like it's trying to go Oscar level drama, and then you find, and I can totally get what you're saying, because the movie it's not bad. It's good. It's good to watch. It's sweet. It'll warm your heart. It'll break your heart. All that good stuff. But there's a place where it could have gone down a deeper dramatic crevice, and it just kind of skimmed the surface. And that's, the whole thing is you have this woman who's shut off from the world and who hates everybody around her, not even just kids, just everybody around her. And then, but kids in particular.
Something's got to break through that emotional armor, John.
Well, right, but it all happens. It's not. At least it didn't seem to me like it was a progression. It was just like, okay, we're button heads. Maybe I don't hate you as much, kid. I'm not going to kick you out on your own. And then it's like, I'm going to tell you my secret. You accept me, and now we're good. We're fine.
I'm curious what you think. And I don't want to spoil it for anybody because apparently people are looking at this movie. But there are a couple of twists in this film that come about in the final act, which I thought were like, yeah, okay.
Well, you called it storybook, right? Yeah, you called it already storybook, and it's very, and that's where the simplicity comes into. There's leaps of logic for that all moment.
There's one development in the story that in my review I described as, I don't know if I called it grotesque, but I may have called it disturbing, because it's something that has to happen in the movie in order to set up the perfect storybook ending. And I was just like, yeah, that's a really bad use of a character and a really disturbing use of a character in order to set up something like that.
Yeah.
And it's just stuff like that is what turned me away from this movie more than it probably needed to. But
yeah, well, I mean, the other thing about that's why storybook.
Did you get to see this?
I didn't get to see this yet. No.
Okay.
It did. I mean, just from where it was shot, the background. I mean, it looked beautiful. Like when you said storybook, I was thinking, well, do you think where they shot it had any, the location had any weight on that. But,
Yeah.
Well, and that was
I mean,
part
that
of
was
my draw to it is, and this is also goes back to the Tamara Drew thing, is I have this very strange weakness for like the English countryside in movies. If the even freaking Peter Rabbit, I dug that movie because it took place in the English countryside. Something about that setting.
So
they filmed it in Australia
what is
But
Japan
it's
for
supposed to
me
be.
is the English countryside.
Exactly.
I got you.
But now Cortland's broken my heart and told me they filmed it in Australia, and I don't know what's up and what's down now.
Yeah, I actually meant to tell you that too. The movie was actually shot in Australia.
Well, they made it look very good. There was good attention to detail.
That's how I feel about New Zealand. Like whenever I know that they've shot New Zealand, I always have that. But I also love, like you said, the British countryside and, all those Jane Austen movies and stuff with the.
Absolutely.
That's fine. So yeah, I mean, some people are gonna like it, I think.
Yeah, I don't think anybody will
It's a-
dislike it. People might just not get everything they wanted out of it.
Yeah,
for sure.
I don't think there's gonna be anybody who's like outright hates it, and that's like one thing I haven't really heard. But I just think it could have been more of a movie than it was. That's all.
I got kind of like a mom vibe. Like moms would really like this. Is that
Probably moms who like watched a British baking show or something would probably like it.
okay?
Right.
Like Downton Abbey moms. Yeah.
Like I have a friend of mine who does nothing but watch the BBC, and that's all she does is watch those Brit shows, like all of them. And I'm just like, I don't like Brit shows. I don't. It's just one of those things. I very rarely like any of them.
My mom's like that.
Might gravitate to this a little bit, I think.
Yeah, my mom's like that. About a year and a half ago,
Friend of mine's watching like Poirot right now, and I'm like,
that's one of the shows.
Old one, really? The
Like
old
old
Poirot?
Yeah, something Midshire Murders or something like that. Everything on BritBox on Prime Video.
Is that the? Yeah, okay, yeah, I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah, my mom. I think that's all. I don't think she's watched anything without a British accent in it for a year and a half now. Honestly.
Yeah.
So we talked about Bryan Singer. We didn't really get into the Vinnie Jones comments yet, though, did we?
No, the Vinnie Jones thing is part of it too. I mean, everybody's doing stuff on X-Men right now.
No, yeah.
And so they reach back to Vinnie Jones, and Vinnie Jones also has a movie coming out, so everybody's been talking to him about it.
Well, we also know Vinnie Jones is going to say what's on his mind.
Nobody would ever talk about this Vinnie Jones movie otherwise, but it's just one of those lame action movies, that he populates like 6 or 7 times a year.
Right.
He plays the heavy. So I mean, but they were asking about the obvious question, which is like X-Men: The Last Stand, which is still awful. Even to this day, it's still terrible. And they're asking about playing Juggernaut, basically, which one of the most ridiculed roles in history, with one of the most iconic, terrible lines of all time. I'm sure you know what it is.
I'm the Juggernaut.
Bitch. The Juggernaut, bitch. Right.
We haven't really been cussing a lot since we did the live stream. I didn't know if we were doing that or
It's
not.
very good.
Yeah.
I mean, I cuss all the time, and maybe you don't, but I mean, I cuss all the time.
Maybe we do, and I just have such a bad mouth that I don't even realize.
I think you've become desensitized to the cussing. Like you just don't even notice the shit.
Yeah, you got to know when your character's entire existence in a movie is based around one of the first memes. Really, it wasn't even a meme. It was a like 45-minute long video where somebody dubbed over the old X-Men animated series with all the Juggernaut. Every time you run into somebody or run into a room and break something, you go, I'm the Juggernaut, bitch. And then you go to the next one and do it again. That's what they based all that crap on.
Basically, in an interview, he's talking about how disappointed he was in the role, and that he was promised to be, it was going to be more, and then it was going to be a different role. So he really felt pissed off about it. But you got to remember how that situation works out. Do you remember the production of X-Men: The Last Stand at all?
I remember it was a mess.
I remember it quite well. Yeah. Bryan Singer had left to do
Ratner,
Superman.
right?
He left to do Superman Returns.
Mm-hmm.
So he had left. But he was initially going to do it, and then he left to do Superman Returns. And Matthew Vaughn was supposed to direct it at first.
Right.
So Matthew Vaughn was attached, And that's when all his buddies got involved. All his buddies that he puts in all his movies got involved, including Vinnie Jones.
Mm-hmm.
So Vinnie Jones signs on then, and then Vaughn leaves. so Jones is just sort of stuck in there with this movie with Brett Ratner, who's brought in at the last second. Brett Ratner, shitty director, still a shitty director. He just sucks, and he's a bad guy. He's a shitty director and a bad guy.
Yeah.
Right?
Literally no redeeming qualities.
It's interesting that you followed up Bryan Singer, who has bad issues in Offset, to bring in Brett Ratner, who we later find out also has bad issues Offset. So anyway, so the X-Men franchise, like right off the bat, you're like, what the who's casting this fucker right here? But anyway, so you can bring in Brett Ratner. Brett Ratner redoes pretty much everything about that movie. And poor Vinnie Jones is left with a shitty Juggernaut role where he looks like he's dressed like Ram Man from He-Man, and it's just awful. It's just awful all around, and he's just like, this is the most disappointing thing I ever did. He felt mugged off by Brett Ratner, whatever that means, some UK shit. But basically,
Taking the piss, mate.
He was pissed about it, and you know what? And it's not even that so much of a surprise. I mean, nobody should be surprised, but I think, you know, he hasn't done a lot of talking about that role over the last 20 years. I don't blame him. I probably wouldn't either.
Mm-hmm.
But it's interesting to just hear him talk about, you know, and describe how he was misled into being in that role. I mean,
because this role is the same as anything else he does. He's just wearing a helmet in it. I mean,
yes.
What was he expecting? I mean, it's
not that he was poorly cast in the role.
No.
Other than the fact that Juggernaut is not English,
right,
at all, which was weird. It was weird. So it's here to hear Juggernaut with an English accent. That did not make any sense.
He also just wasn't big enough.
Wolverine's not Australian, and I can hear Hugh Jackman's Australian accent all the time in Wolverine. So, and I don't care.
Patrick Stewart, he can actually walk.
Patrick Stewart can walk. Patrick Stewart can walk. Yes. So yeah, it's good to hear Vinnie Jones talk about it, and that he feels as bad about that role as we do after to watch it. When we do. And he was chasing after poor Ellen Page during that scene too. The Juggernaut scene. Yes.
If we can jump back to Umbrella
Ellen Page.
She's awesome.
She's
awesome.
All-time interviews, even though she barely spoke.
But I'm straight up worried about her. Cortland, am I crazy, or does she look like she might be sick or something? Like, she's always been tiny, but she's like skeletal.
Really thin in this one.
Yeah.
She looks really like, I don't know
yeah.
Say gaunt, but like she
Don't scare me.
No, gaunt is probably the right word because her cheeks were all sunken in.
I mean, I'm a huge Juno fan, and so like when I think of her, I think of that a little bit of a chubby round face, with those little puppy dog ear like bangs.
Yeah.
Yeah, she looked very. I don't know if that was like a character choice, because like I mean the character of Vanya I feel like would serve her for not take care of herself, obviously, especially in season 1.
Right.
I don't know necessarily what's
well, as long as nothing's come out that
in interviews that I've seen.
Right. I mean, I guess as long as nothing's come out that she's actually having issues. I saw it and I was like, something doesn't look right. I don't know if it's just me, but something's not right. But I'm at least it wasn't just me seeing it.
Yeah. But it's,
really, so she doesn't look good, huh?
Well, no. I mean, it's her. Like this, I have a very similar thing about Adele too. Like it's their body. If there's an issue, like I wish them well. I hope they figure it out.
I feel like she has gotten thinner over the years. Look, I mean, this is no criticism of Ellen Page. Lord knows I love Ellen Page. I wanted to stick her in my back pocket when I interviewed her. But she used to carry a lot of some baby fat. That thing she shed as she got older.
Right.
And I think she has been looked really skinny since then. I haven't noticed. I didn't watch it, but it's Academy, so I can't judge it.
Yeah.
But she's always looked pretty thin to me. Like ever since like that movie Freehold or whatever it was that she did. It was the first time I noticed it. What was it?
Freeheld.
Freeheld, thank you.
Yep.
I almost said Free Jack. That's a very different.
That's a different movie.
Free Jack.
But everything. That was the first time I really noticed it that she got better. But I think she got older. Her body's changed.
Yeah,
but
true
maybe
enough.
it's something else. I don't know. I can't call it.
Well, at least at least we haven't heard that she's sick or anything. Now,
And it would be irresponsible to speculate that she.
it would be.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not. I was just asking you guys.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of things that look sick, this is not going to be a good segue because you guys aren't going to know what I'm thinking.
Not segue at all. No.
No. I think things that look sick is Courtney Cox's bangs in Scream 3. Do you guys remember those?
Right.
I'm just saying.
Sticking,
I do
a
too.
good hair, like sticking a like.
Why? Way.
Why?
I'm adding another image now. We have a picture of Courtney, who as she is now, beautiful as she always was, and she signed on for Scream 5. And while I was looking for media for the show, I was reminded, what that hair situation was looking like for Scream 3. And we all do weird things during different times. I wore Jenko jeans at one point that were about 28 inches wide at the ankle, but I don't know. Her bangs in this look like an accident. Like somebody sneezed when they were cutting her hair, and it was bad. So I'm gonna go ahead and put that up. And we'll use that.
Okay, but let's also remember that Courtney Cox, her hairstyle, just like Jennifer Aniston's, were being put through the scalpel because of Friends, like for years. Like, and it's like, and I guess Scream is no. I guess you couldn't even get away from it for Scream.
Right. No.
I mean, like anytime they changed their hair, there was like analysis of that shit, like over and over again, like ridiculous amounts.
Oh yeah, they were the Beatles of the late '90s for sure. But she's back for Scream 5.
And my roommate, all she does all day is watch the Friends episodes. So every time I like walk into the room, all I see is a new hairstyle. Not just for them, but for the guys too. There was one episode where I think all the guys had the same haircut, and I was like, that must have been just like the white haircut for like.
Oh yeah, and
time.
at like 98, 99. Well, so from 95 to 98, I had both of these. I had both of these.
You probably had that haircut too.
From 95 to 98, we had the middle cut. Was the white guy cut, the middle bowl cut thing, and then
something.
In 98, it was basically this. I changed my hairstyle.
Thing right here.
Like Brad Renfro, like.
Yeah. On the other side, and then in 98, we all changed over to like the NSYNC fade. Short on the sides, a little bit longer in the middle. Something I still pretty much have now.
That picture. I gotta ask Angela for that picture.
Oh, I will. I have no. I'll do you one better. I'll give you the one of me in 99 or 2000 with bleached blonde hair like that, like Eminem. Mm-hmm. That happened.
I'm sure it did. I'm sure it happened.
I'm white, pointy nose, blue eyes, skinny. It wasn't too far of a throw for me to be the real Slim Shady. No skills though. So Scream 5 is what we're talking about. Does anybody think it's weird? I'm just not excited because Wes Craven, whose birthday is actually today, who died last year, isn't involved in it, obviously. And I don't know what else there could possibly do with another Scream. I think Scream 4 was good, but the ending was kind of like, okay, well, I think we're done now.
Scream 4 was not good.
I remember it being. I haven't watched it since it came out, but I remember it being okay.
Scream 4 was so not good that the franchise has been gone for the last 9 years.
Well,
Scream 4 was 2011.
Yeah.
Wasn't there an iteration on MTV?
That show was good.
There have been a couple of series of Scream series since then. So it's not as if the franchise completely died, but the
but I don't feel like an MTV show would have, drawn up a big enough fan base for a new film, to be honest with you.
No, and it was surprisingly good, that show. We watched it. My wife and I watched it with zero expectations. That had something to do with it, but it was actually really good and fun to watch.
Wasn't Bella Thorne in that show for a minute?
For a second, she's in the open. She was the Drew Barrymore of that show.
Yeah,
she was gone.
I remember that was just like the first episode, right, or something like that, and they made a big deal about her being on it.
Yeah, it's literally the Drew Barrymore role. She's dead in the opening scene.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, but no, I think so this new version of Scream that they're doing, it's not a reboot. It's not anything like that. It's more of a legacy sequel. You know, it's picking up where the other one left off years later, I guess. So we've got her. So Courtney's back. David Arquette's Dewey is back. So you got those two key characters, and Nev Campbell is in negotiating to come back. So you got the three original characters there who are coming back, right? So this is going to be a continuation of some kind. I'm sure they'll just mix in new, brand new characters like they always do. But
right.
It's being directed by the guys who did Ready or Not, the guys Radio Silence. So I mean, it's got some talent involved with it. But like you, it seemed like with Scream 4, they had long since run out of things to say. The thing that made Scream interesting was that it was kind of deconstructing the genre and satirizing it at the same time.
Right.
And by the time they got to Scream 4, all that had been done. I mean, it had all been done and done to death. It had gotten to the point where it had been so done to death that Scream itself was being mocked. Right? I mean, that's what the whole scary movie franchise was. It was a mocking of Scream.
Right.
Basically. So what's left for you to do? Scream 4 basically proved that they had nothing left to say. So what's there to say now about the horror genre? Cortland?
I feel like horror movies have definitely changed. Like we have those like A24 horror movies now that are very, very different. So if they were going to play off of that, I feel like that would be a really interesting direction.
Yeah.
Go
I agree with that. I agree with you on there. I think the way movies are done, because those were Scream was satirizing slasher films. Well, slasher movies aren't really the thing right now.
If they were gonna satirize like the indie horror film, something maybe like Hereditary or Midsommar or It Follows, something like that maybe. But I don't necessarily think it would work in any other direction.
But doesn't bringing back the same old people and probably bringing in the ghost face again, doesn't that kind of tell you that they're not going to do that?
I mean, absolutely. I think it does tell you that
just
they're
done
not
a
going to
total
do that.
reboot.
But I still think it'd be an interesting direction to go in. You're right.
Well, yeah, no, I agree with that. I think if you're going to do Scream, that's the way they should do it. It just feels like to me like they should just go ahead and do the reboot. Just reboot it.
Well, they did. The
A
show.
whole new cast.
The show had a whole new cast, a whole new thing. It even had a new ghost face mask, and it worked. It worked really well. And I just not only that, but Scream 4. Part of what was confusing about it was the whole idea of Scream.
I don't know what you were just doing right there, John. You're waving away a fly, but that's going to be the freeze frame shot of the show. So just letting you know now because I get to pick it.
I get one a week, Cortland, and he picks the worst frame of the show to use as my thumbnail. But yeah, I mean, the show, it was a totally fresh cast. Showed that you could do that. Showed that it could be compelling, and the other thing is, Scream 4 tried to instead of lambasting horror films, it was trying to kind of pick at cell phone culture, I guess you would say. But I think it was too early to do that. I mean, in 2011, we were there. We had the same stuff we have now, but Twitter wasn't as, political regimes are being taken down by Twitter these days. I mean, it wasn't what it is now. And, the globality of all of it is much larger.
Is that a word?
It is now. I was hoping you wouldn't say anything. I was thinking before, I was like, globality. Let's go with it, see if it flies. It didn't, but we're good.
John Nolan speaking before he's thought. It happens all the time. That movie.
It's the only way I speak.
I was just making sure that I was not.
No, globality is
about a word that exists that doesn't.
But you can certainly use that. Sure. You can use that for sure if you'd like.
I won't use it, but it's good to know that you said it and then it's out there.
But wait, like with regard to satirizing horror, I mean, number one, sadly, what I think they'll do, I think they forgot about what the most likely scenario is that they forgot about the satiric version or satiric components of the original, and it's just going to be Ghostface slashing kids again. Unfortunately, that's probably what it's going to be. But I don't even know how they would satirize modern horror. It's not as cookie cutter as it used to be. I mean, you mentioned A24 and Blumhouse.
Honestly, I'd love to see them just play as a straight up horror and do it in the style that the movies are being done now. I mean, that's what that would be the best thing they could do. In fact, and rather than trying to mock these movies now, I don't think there's enough distance from these movies now to do that.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the things that worked. Why Scream worked was that there had been plenty of distance from slasher films. They were pretty much out of vogue at that point anyway.
Yeah.
And it was really easy to do. I don't think there's been enough distance from these movies now. Right now, where they're really at the height of their popularity, I don't think it would be a smart move. But I'd love to see them do a straight up Scream movie with a serious ghost face and done in the style of a lot of these movies that we're seeing now. That would be really interesting to me. And it would be something that people wouldn't expect. So I would love to see that, which means they won't do it.
Well, and there's some terrifying
Do something
components.
else.
There's terrifying components that they haven't either been fully explored or haven't been explored effectively with where we are now that could go on the same train. I mean, everybody knows how terrifying it was for Ghostface to call and what's your favorite scary movie and all that. But, we've seen them do this in like Unfriended and some of those other, supernatural horror films that take place through chats and things like that. But they could really play with the whole social media angle and really make that stick. Yeah, I just hope they do it right because it can. If it don't do it exactly right, it's going to be
TikTok murder on there or something.
Yeah. Kill the person and do a TikTok dance or something, or a Fortnite dance.
Probably, yeah,
Or
exactly.
if they do it wrong, you die.
There you go. I would watch that movie.
Exactly. Well, I mean, they probably. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if we do see a movie like that. That's sort of like how. What was the movie that had the cursed videotape?
The Ring?
Which one? It was The Ring.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they sort of did that with that movie Wounds,
Mm-hmm.
which came out a couple years ago. It was one of the worst things I saw at Sundance a couple years ago. Like Armie Hammer and Zazie Beetz and Dakota Johnson. It's just awful.
Mm-hmm.
That reminds me of the movie that they make fun of in Forgetting Sarah Marshall, the one that Kristen Bell's in, with the cell phone.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
that's
yeah,
basically
yeah.
That's basically what Wounds is. It's a cursed cell phone.
Yeah.
And it's just an awful piece of shit.
Yeah.
There's a surprising number of cursed cell phone movies out there.
Yeah. But yeah, they might do. There'll be some sort of TikTok murder or something like that. Something dumb.
Right.
Maybe if they're gonna still try to have some fun with it, then that's the kind of thing they'll do. But like I said, I would much rather see them do something totally different. Then again, Ready or Not is a movie that kind of has fun with the genre too.
Yeah.
So I guess if we're gonna do something like that, those would be the guys that would do it.
Yeah. Well, we'll find out soon enough if they ever start shooting things again in Hollywood.
Yeah.
But animated series don't need to be shot; they need to be drawn. And Kevin Smith has got a new Green Arrow series coming up. With Supermax was his run on Green Arrow. He famously did a run on Green Arrow back in I want to say the early 2000s, and really kind of reinvigorated. What's that?
He did the comic, and the comic was based on the screenplay that he was going to do because he was supposed to write a movie.
Right.
He's supposed to write the Green Arrow movie. So he turned it into a comic. Now he's doing Green Hornet. Did I say Green? Did I write to you?
What did I say? Did I say Green Arrow?
I think you said Green Arrow.
And then I went down that same thing. Oh yeah. So I'm just I'm gonna double check the headline.
Did I send you Green Arrow and not Green Hornet?
It's possible.
That
Either
is
way,
possible.
Kevin Smith
wrote
Green Arrow.
At least I didn't send you Brown Hornet. That's a completely different character.
I don't know who that is, and I'm not sure I want to find out based on how you're looking at it.
You don't know who the Brown Hornet is?
No, it sounds like something that you pay extra for. Wait, who's the Brown Hornet?
Yeah, it's a sex act.
I figured so.
Yeah, no, it's not. The Brown Hornet is a character that was on Fat Albert.
Oh, I didn't know his name, but yeah, I knew him from Fat Albert. Yeah.
He's a Cosby creation. I love the Brown Hornet.
Okay.
Now that needs to be a movie. They need to do it, but you can't do it now because of the Cosby connection.
Can't do it.
You can't do it.
Mm.
You can't do it.
It's done.
They won't even show the live action Fat Albert movie now because of the Cosby connection.
How pissed off do you think the other cast members of his show are that they'll never get the residuals that they would get just because of his dumb ass and they can't, his disgusting self that they can't rerun those shows now? I would be so pissed, especially if you're like Malcolm Jamal Warner and you're sitting at home and you're like, well, I'll be pulling $100,000 a year and
Jamal Warner is still working.
He's
Well, I'm
still
sure, but you don't think he'd like to get the extra money? I mean, it's probably $100,000 a year in royalties if they Hulu bought it.
I think they're fine. I think
Everybody likes money. So the animated show he's doing is Green Hornet, not Green Arrow. But he did write Green Arrow back in the day. It has nothing to do with Green Hornet other than the color green. And since I don't even know the title of it, why don't you tell everybody about it, Travis?
There's not that much to talk about yet, other than the fact that he's doing a Green Green Hornet animated series. Green Hornet is the character that was made really popular in the 1960s, 70s with Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee is Kato.
Right.
And it didn't last a long time, but it was one of those iconic roles for Bruce Lee. Of course, was recently seen in bits and pieces in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Talking about that. And the Green Hornet is the distant relative of the Lone Ranger. So those characters are connected as well. I've always wanted to see like a movie that did a proper crossover between those two. I remember a comic back in the day that it did, but I want to see a movie of those two characters brought together. But basically, the Green Hornet is a millionaire who's, I think, Britt Reed, who becomes a costume vigilante, not unlike a Batman-esque character, but one that's more rooted in martial arts psychology. So very different sort of character. Kevin Smith's involved with it. He's gonna be writing the scripts for it, and he's been involved with. He was supposed to write, I think, a Green Hornet movie back in the day too. So I mean, Kevin Smith is involved with anybody who's green.
Which for his stoner mentality, that's probably fits in pretty well. I'm sure he's making puns about that at some point.
I don't know if he has that mentality anymore. So.
You know that he's still a stoner?
I mean, he's completely changed his life around health-wise. So I don't know.
He's a stoner. He's just a vegan stoner now.
Yeah. He's not like the Jason Mewes style stoner who's probably just, like
yeah. Well, and now I'm speaking about. I said earlier I was worried about Ellen Page. I should be worried about him. With this health kick that he's on. I'll listen to like one of his podcasts. He does 47 of them once a week, and he's always talking about he's doing these fasts. Like intermittent fasting is something that I was interested in and I wanted to try out. But I'm talking 16 hours off, 8 hours on. This guy's doing like 96-hour fast, like not eating for a week. I don't understand how that's not bad for you, but
it is bad for you.
Okay, good. So that's what I wanted to know.
It's not healthy.
And he's like, after the third day, you transcend and you can feel it. I'm like, wow, you're on another level.
Yeah, that's called
hallucinating because you're going into starvation mode.
Right.
Yeah, it's called delirium is what that is. I mean, that's not healthy at all. I can't do the one night of fasting that I need to do before my physicals. Like I hate it.
No.
Like I hate it. Like that's torture for me. Like to have to go 3 days or more, or even just 2 days, it sounds like a fucking nightmare. I would never do some shit like that.
Yeah,
but he's clearly like he's lost a lot of weight. He looks completely different than he used to. I mean, the classic Silent Bob jacket didn't even look right on him. In the Jay and Silent Bob reboot, it didn't look like it looked like he should just ditched it and just like you just said, fuck it, I'm not wearing this joint. It doesn't fit. Like he shouldn't even done it. Like it's just don't wear it. But it didn't look right. Whatever. I also find that he's a lot less funny thin.
You think
but
so?
Then again, most people are less funny thin.
Why do you think that is? I was. Do you think that's a real thing? I mean, like Jonah Hill is less.
Jonah Hill wasn't as good then.
No, and I don't understand why that is because it's not like he does physical comedy.
I don't know, man. It's just one of those things. I don't want to judge it too hard as a fat person myself. I ain't gonna sit here and judge it. It's just one of those things.
Yeah.
Cortland.
I mean, I was gonna say I'm also fat.
You're outnumbered, John. Get out of here.
Ever.
I think it's also like, there's little microaggressions that happen when you're, any marginalized community, but definitely, making fun of fat people is still considered fine and normal, I would say, by normal society. So once you lose weight, you're now part of that.
Okay.
And so I don't know if it's like a, you know, the source of my trauma is gone, so therefore I'm not funny anymore. I don't know if it's like one of those things. But yeah, no, that's why I refuse to be thin, is because I just want to make jokes all the time. So
yeah, that's my excuse too.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go with that.
yeah.
Oh man, was there anything else we had this week? And then we're coming up on the hour here.
We are coming up on the hour here. I didn't really have anything else. What's everybody been watching right now? Like, what is everybody like watching while you're in quarantine? I'm not watching anything but wrestling.
I just finished Umbrella Academy, and then I started watching Black Sails. I've got like 4 shows going right now. I started watching Black Sails, which I don't even think.
How you can do that?
Is Tom Hopper in that?
Yeah, he is. He is. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's very weird, see, because I've been watching that, and I went to Umbrella Academy. You know, he's all bulked up, but for some reason, it doesn't look completely weird that he's got the body of a gorilla in Umbrella Academy. But then you see him in some other things, you're like, oh, he's not really that big in real life. But yeah, he is in it. It's really better than I thought it was gonna be. Showtime apparently has some quality programming. Did not know that.
Have you watched that show? That one that's based, that Warrior show, the one that's based on the Bruce Lee writings. It's called
I didn't
Warrior.
know. Yeah, I remember seeing that was coming out. I didn't know it was already out. It is?
They're doing season 2 right now. I just put up the trailer for season 2, I believe. Oh no, I skipped that. I didn't do it.
And what was it? It's called Warrior?
It's called Warrior. I thought you would have watched
Well, that's what I'm going to be doing this evening then, obviously.
I still need to watch that show that's on Netflix, the martial arts show that just came out.
Oh, that's because it's on
That we put
Cinemax.
up a review for it. I don't even remember the name of it. Huh?
There's a hey, look, man. There's one thing about this quarantine that I think is going to be good for the world after everything is the globality, if you will, of of media. Like all these other countries that weren't in the spotlight before, that Netflix is bringing in, and people are finally given a chance to, thanks to shows like Dark, German show. And there are so many cool genre shows coming from South America, Germany, Israel, all these places, and Netflix is bringing those all out.
I got news for you, John. Those shows were there anyway. We didn't need the pandemic for it.
I know, but everybody's home to watch them now, and they're running out. And people are finally accepting subtitles.
I know what you're saying. Cortland, what are you watching right now?
The show in my house right now is Perry Mason. We are watching.
I want to watch that.
Perry Mason, not the old one, the new one. It's so good. If you were to tell me at the beginning of this that like my obsessive show would be like a gritty reboot of Perry Mason, I would have like spit in your face. It's so good. Matthew Rhys is great. Chris Chalk is great. Like everybody's just wonderful. It's fun, like surprisingly really funny too, which is like it's just a really great like nugget of television every week. So I'm watching that. I'm watching I'll Be Gone in the Dark, which is a really interesting documentary also on
That's the one from based on the stuff.
Patton Oswalt's wife.
Patton Oswalt's wife.
I got a bunch of episodes on DVR that I haven't watched.
Yeah, that's really good. If you're into true crime, and it's just really cool to, they don't fully attribute, obviously she didn't catch this killer, the Golden State Killer herself, but like she definitely, attributed to his capture. So it's kind of cool now that the trial is kind of going on, that this thing is coming out and really honoring this woman who helped put him away. And it focuses like on her a lot and the victims rather than giving this guy any more airtime.
Which is beautiful. That's, I wonder how much the world would be different if we did that all the time. Like when people do this, just say douchebag number one and move on and then talk about everybody else.
I always appreciate it when people don't refuse to say the name of the person. That's what most of these people want is the attention. So don't give it to them.
But Perry Mason, let me tell you, I started watching that. I think it was last Tuesday night, maybe. And I was kind of tired, and I turned around. I was like, "Well, I'll watch this. Maybe I'll fall asleep." That opening scene, I was awake until like 4 a.m. There's something you rarely see on TV that's quite shocking that happens right at the beginning. But yeah, I was amazed. It's not your mama's Perry Mason, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's not. It's really not your great grandma's Perry Mason.
There you go. Yeah, that's probably more accurate.
Well, I have a question for you. Like, Robert Downey Jr. was supposed to play Perry Mason. What do you think? How do you think he would have done in that role?
I think he would have been great. He's great and everything. I just think there's something unhinged about what's his name that's playing now, Matthew Rice. Yeah. So there's something about like Robert Downey Jr. is a little too much better looking. I guess he's too much better put together. There's something about the way Reese looks and the way he with his hair balding a little bit all over the place. That really kind of cements who that guy is. And I just love noir stuff. 30s, 40s, 50s LA.
Yeah.
Nothing
I
better.
also think Robert Downey Jr. is also, he's played Sherlock Holmes. He's played the detective before. So I also feel like he wouldn't have done it.
It would have just been like Sherlock, that same type deal, I gotta imagine, yeah.
And
he was going to play Perry Mason in a movie, wasn't he?
Well, the TV show is produced by their production company.
Yeah, I think he had, because I've seemed to remember reporting on that at some point over the years, that he wanted to do Perry Mason, I thought, as a movie, and they probably never got around to it, and so he decided that him and the person would turn it into a series instead. I think that's how it went. I could be wrong. Maybe he was always meant for a TV series. But I do remember him being up for that role at some point. I thought it was for a movie. But I'm adding that to my list of things to watch. I watch TV slowly, you know that. Because I have 20 hours of wrestling to watch a week. So I don't have much time to watch anything else. So I'm on the final episode of Upload. I need to get around to watching that. It has been excellent. I love the first season of that show.
I haven't seen Upload.
Yeah, me neither. That one's on my must-watch list. So I'll probably start that after Umbrella Academy.
It's easy shorthand to call it the digital version of The Good Life, but it's like part that, but it's also part mystery too. It's really interesting. I didn't think I would care much about Robbie Amell either, because I think he's very bland.
I think he's too good looking to get emotionally invested in him.
Yeah, I sort of felt that way too.
Care about you.
At least I could feel like there was some grit to Stephen Amell, and maybe it's because I've seen him actually wrestle, and he's a bomb ass professional wrestler when he wants to be.
Is he really?
Stephen Amell, you never seen Stephen Amell wrestle?
I knew he had done wrestling events. I didn't know he was any good.
He's fucking great. If he actually wanted to do it full time, which he teased when Arrow ended, he teased doing that, he would be fucking amazing.
That might be the most surprising thing I heard all day.
He's super athletic.
Yeah.
Insanely athletic, and he's really good at it.
Wow.
But yeah, Robbie Amell, there's something too pristine about him, and I'm like, now look at him. But he actually really works well in Upload, which they kind of comment on that about him a lot. So it's really interesting. I've been watching the final season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which has been great. I haven't watched it since season 3 or 4, and I just kind of jumped back into it. And it is.
Yeah, you didn't catch up first, you said, right?
I did not catch up. I don't intend to catch up either. I'm not going to go back and watch those episodes. I've struggled to go back and watch, or at least I struggled to go back and watch the episodes of Runaways after it got canceled. And I was like, well, because I'd watched the first 2 seasons and then it got canceled, but he had already finished season 3. So I was like, do I want to watch season 3? I mean, what's the point?
Right.
But I went back and watched them, and I kind of struggled with it. And but it was actually still pretty good. It ended on a really fantastic note. But I'm kind of sad that show's gone now. But whatever. So those are really the only shows I'm watching. Upload and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is about to wind down too. That's about to end. I think there's maybe only an episode or 2 left of that. And then I don't know where I'm going to go. I know Perry Mason, like I said, I want to watch it, but then I got a million reasons.
Well, The Boys is coming out, right? Next month.
Which one?
Season 2 of The Boys.
Oh, yeah. The Boys is coming back. Well, see, this is the kind of thing that prevents me from getting into anything else. It's because something else is always on the verge of coming back. So,
yeah. In today's world, if you get behind, you just leave it.
You're behind. Yeah.
And then
I'll never get around to watching Ozark. I will never get to it. I'll never get to it because something else will always jump the line.
What show's coming out this month that I am still surprised I got so into? Lucifer. I don't know why I even started watching it. I had no interest in it. It's the Fox show that eventually was canceled and brought to Netflix, and they just announced it's getting a 5th and 6th season. Oh, it's so fun. It's a procedural.
That's why I don't want to watch it.
Yeah, it
because
shows
they took that fantastic comic, that fantastic character, and made it into a procedural.
Yeah, see, I never read the character before this, but it's funny because it shows that a procedural doesn't matter what you put into it. It can literally be Clint Eastwood and an orangutan. It can be a detective and the devil.
Sleepy Hollow was ultimately a procedural.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it just shows it doesn't matter.
It took me a little while to really kind of really pay attention to that.
Right.
And that's when I got immediately bored with Sleepy Hollow. Like at first I was like, I love the mythology around Sleepy Hollow. It's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
I watched it, and plus I love, Nicole Bahare. So, and then I was like, yeah, but they're just kind of solving crimes and shit. And then and occasionally the headless person would ride through town.
Right.
And I was like, and I got bored with it, and I stopped watching.
It's just comfort, man. The procedural is the ultimate television comfort food. It's just lazy. It is, and sometimes you want to be lazy and just lay around and watch some stuff like that.
No,
so that's
I'm not talking about the viewer. I'm talking about the people making.
No, I'm talking about the viewer. Sometimes I want to be lazy. I don't want to think. I want to just kind of.
I think my go-to procedural show is Veronica Mars. I think they do that really, really well, the procedural. But there's also this huge, mystery surrounding each season as well. I don't talk about the 4th season; it doesn't exist in my mind. But or really the 3rd season. The first 2 seasons of Veronica Mars are the only ones that matter.
First 2 seasons of Veronica Mars are fantastic.
Yeah.
I'll just say I like all 4 seasons, even though the last.
My heart.
Look, I'm not gonna argue with you about it. Not great. So.
I mean, I know she had to grow up, but just that death at the end, it hurt me so much. But okay.
I can hear it in your voice. It's like real pain there.
It's painful to talk about. Yeah.
That's funny.
A year out.
All right. Well,
we're running up on the hour 15, where it'll take me a little while longer to edit this episode up. So
I'm gonna go and I'm gonna jump on the stream and play some Overwatch and get my ass kicked. John,
for sure.
So you have Xbox, John, right?
I do. Again, it died on me, and I took it apart and tried to fix it, and it wouldn't go back together. And I was looking for a new one, and they were sold out everywhere. And I thought of one more thing it could be. Took it up, soldered it a little bit. Xbox is back on. I saved it.
Nice.
Long story short, yes, I do.
Get Overwatch for Xbox. I know you got it on Switch. Get it on Xbox so we can cross play, so we can play.
All right.
And we can both die together.
I'm waiting for it to show up on Game Pass or for sale, but I'll go ahead and get it.
Yes, just go ahead and get it. If I can afford to get it, you can afford to get it. Just go ahead and get it.
Cool.
We're getting used, for Christ's sake. I mean, just get the original Origins version used, and it's not that expensive.
Yeah, this is the lazy part of me again. I just get digital, and I kick myself every time because there's nothing to turn back into money to make. But what are you gonna do? But
I'm sure it'll be on sale on the store probably.
Yeah, I'll check it out when I get home. But Courtney, thanks for.
Ask Courtney's not gonna play.
You don't not a gamer at all? Not a gamer?
Not where it counts. No.
You're not gonna come over and play.
I like starting.
You're not gonna come play some Overwatch with me. You're not gonna come play some Overwatch with me. Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask.
I'll play Overwatch. I mean, I'll die. I'll be horrible.
Yeah, that's okay. I'm horrible. Who cares?
I was raised in a non-video game house, so I feel like it never really transferred over as an adult.
I was watching streamers.
The Sims.
I was watching streamers play Overwatch last night, John. Like the pros.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just sitting there dumbfounded.
You just feel bad about yourself after you watch that?
Yeah. No, I was just sitting there like, I would have died 10 times right there.
Yeah.
You don't die none. And I'm like, how's that possible? What am I doing wrong?
And it seems simple. It's like the mechanics aren't complicated. It's not like you can have faster fingers than anybody by that much. But they just know how to do something. I don't get it.
I think the game's probably just racist or something. Like my characters die faster.
Yeah. I would definitely say you heard it here first, folks. Overwatch, racist.
Overwatch is racist. Very good. All right, let's get out of here. I don't know what we have for next week. I know next week I have a couple movies. I have The Burnt Orange Heresy, which is a movie that came out a few months ago, and they're re-releasing it now because ain't nobody go see it the first time. It's like Kleist Bang and Elizabeth Debicki, Mick Jagger in a role that everybody's been talking about. He's really great in it, and Donald Sutherland's a really astute literary film. I just watched it last night, and I also have Waiting for the Barbarians, which is Mark Rylance, Johnny Depp, and Robert Pattinson all in one movie, and it is.
Oh yeah.
It is very. It is it's something. So and those are two things I know that we have for next week.
I Used to Go Here is also going to be available next week too.
What's next week?
I Used to Go Here with Gillian Jacobs and Jermaine Clement.
Oh yeah.
Oh, right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I did watch that too. Yeah.
She's popping up in everything these days.
I love me some Gillian Jacobs.
I love both of them on a spiritual level.
Me and Gillian Jacobs are, but that movie. Maybe we'll have to have you back on to talk about that, especially because you might talk to the director, right? Are you?
Yes, that's happening.
Okay, so you're gonna. All right, so you're talking to Chris Ray.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe we'll have you on to talk about that interview with Chris Ray. Yeah, we should talk about I Used to Go Here. John, you should try and watch it.
I'll check it out. And that's next week. And until then, you can check us out every single day on punchdrunkcritics.com. Cortland, thanks for coming on. You are welcome to come on whatever weekend you want to. You can check out all of our writing there at punchdrunkcritics.com.
Whenever we have third window space,
right,
you can come on.
Exactly. And right below us there, that's all the contact info, but I'll let Travis rattle it off as well for social media.
I don't see any, so there's nothing on my window.
Not you, the viewers. They're down there.
Huh? What?
Not you, the viewers. It's down there. It's in the description.
Oh, I thought you wanted me to rattle something off.
No.
You can find us every day at punchdrunkcritics.com, on Twitter at PDC Movies, me at Punchy Critic. John is at PunchDrunkJohn, but he don't tweet, so don't bother. Courtland, I don't remember what your Twitter was.
We'll put it below. I don't remember.
I think it's like.
To be honest, I'm really bad at this.
It's like at Port.
It's like at Port Portlandia, I think it is.
At Port Portlandia or something like that. Yeah, something like that. You can find me on Twitch at Cinematic Defender, Cinematic Enforcer. Excuse me. Cinematic Defender is a totally different guy. And that's about it. Find Cinema Royale on Facebook and Spreaker and everywhere else.
Till next week.
It. All right, come on. You're holding me up for my Overwatch time. Let's go.
All right, guys. Till next week. We'll see you.
All right.
All right. Stream is closed.